I know you guys can't see me, but hi, everyone. This is a new thing that we're trying out, a new podcast that I hope no one has done because I like to be original. But with me are two people that I've happened to befriend over the Facebook group. I'm a member of a Big Ten marching band, which if you aren't part of it, I'm sorry. You're just missing out on the fun, and you're never going to get in unless you're a member of a Big Ten marching band. But I have my friends Jason and Craig here, and also fellow Big Ten marching band alumni and or current Big Ten marching bandos. And we are trying out this new thing. Hopefully it'll work out. It's going to be a little bit of sports and a lot of bit of marching band, hopefully. And we hope to normalize college marching band in as best of a way as possible, bring all of the excitement that we've had in our years of doing it to you guys, and hopefully the Big Ten boys, which is what the podcast is called temporarily, will find a way to do this. So without further ado, why don't you two introduce yourself, and then I will introduce myself last.
Craig, you want to go first?
Sure. My name is Craig Sirota. I am a recent grad as of like a week ago from Rutgers, if you couldn't tell. I was there for 5 years, marched in the marching band for 4 years, was in the pep band for all 5 years, screaming at basketball players, making sure they had a bad day. Yeah, that's what I got. Jason, would you like to introduce yourself?
Craig, what instrument did you play?
Oh, I am still a proud mellophone player.
Well, I am currently a rising junior at
What's
Purdue.
your full name?
My name's Jason Park.
There we go.
Sorry, it shows on the call, but people can't see it.
Yeah, people can't see the call.
All right, well, again, if you missed it the first time, I'm Jason Park, and I'm a rising junior at Purdue. I play mellophone in the All-American Marching Band, and I play French horn in our indoor ensembles, and I also play mellophone in some of the pep bands that we have here at Purdue. I am also majoring in computer engineering. That should probably have been mentioned earlier. Here I am. I'm still in school.
And to round it out, hi, my name is Alex Murphy. I know you guys can't really see me right now because I'm currently in beautiful Ocean City, New Jersey, where my family has a beach house. Don't try to find us because I will find you. But I'm just chilling here. I, like Craig, just recently graduated, although I graduated from the University of Maryland, the only school to use the word "the" in their title. I am currently an unemployed sports journalist, or whatever you want to call me. I was in the Mighty Sound of Maryland for 3 years. I played alto saxophone, and I was in the Maryland pep band for basketball for 4 years. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Kind of wish I did it for 4 years, but things happened along the way. But we're all here. We're going to have a good time, and hopefully we're going to bring the joy and excitement that we had in marching band to you guys. And we're going to have on a bunch of special guests, like our special guest tonight, who Jason knows way more about than I do. But we're hoping to get more people on board from Big Ten bands, and hopefully as we grow this thing, we're hoping to get people from other bands across the country, maybe even band directors, associate band directors, coaches, athletic directors, players, anyone that we can get that would be interested in talking about the wondrous world of college marching band.
Alrighty, before we move on, I just want to hit you with a little fact check. Rutgers University actually is not the name. It's actually Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey.
That's
just going to nitpick
disgusting.
you a little bit. But
anyway. Are you talking about Rutgers Camden?
Yo, fuck that. Anyway, let's get the show started.
We are going to try to get, as many voices from Big Ten marching bands and from other marching bands across the country as we start doing this podcast more and more, just to try to get their voice and keep expanding what college marching band is and kind of explain that more. So today we have current Marching Scarlet Knights drum major from the university, or from Rutgers University, Jess Morley. Jess, how are you?
I'm doing great, as good as it gets in quarantine. How are you guys?
We're pretty good.
Yeah, I think we're all doing good here.
Yeah.
Thumbs up for me.
What?
I said thumbs up for me.
Oh, I thought you said except for me.
That's what I heard too. I heard except for it. Alrighty.
So Jess, obviously you now as a drum major at Rutgers, what can you kind of describe? I guess as a first question, can you kind of describe your music career, your band career, and your marching career that's led you up to now being the drum major at Rutgers?
Sure. So I am a clarinet player at heart. I started in 3rd grade. That's when most New Jersey schools start, I think. I'm not exactly really sure.
The 3rd or 4th grade, but
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
So I played clarinet in around high school. I started learning alto sax to join the jazz band, and I played clarinet in the marching band. My junior year, I was assistant drum major at high school, and senior year, I was drum major. And then I actually decided to take my first year of college marching band off. So I wasn't a member of the Marching Scarlet Knights, but I missed it so much that I wound up joining the pep band in the spring on clarinet. I'm also a music education major, so like music is a big thing for me. Like I'm constantly playing, practicing, whether it be my primary instrument or not. So I joined spring of my freshman year, the pep band, and I absolutely loved it. I got to go to the Big Ten tournament for the women's to Indianapolis, and I had such a fun time that I joined marching band the next fall. And I actually switched to baritone because I just wanted to learn something new. And also I just had a lot of friends that were in the low brass section, and I just wanted to shake things up a little bit, so why not? And at the end of that season, I went for leadership, and I actually had told the directors, oh, my first choice would be to be section leader, and my second choice would be to be drum major. And they asked me a couple times to make sure they got it right, and I was like, yes, that's right. I put that on the paper. That's the idea. And my interview went well. I got a round 2 callback for drum major, and my junior year was my first year being a drum major at Rutgers. Only my second year in the marching band, which is absolutely amazing. And now I'm going into my senior year still as a drum major, and it's just really awesome to kind of be a part of like the behind the scenes stuff and kind of get to see all the things leading up to a game day and also be a part of the planning experience. Obviously, I don't get a huge say because obviously that's all the directors. So at the end of the day, it's the director's call, but they often tend to lean on us for some things.
Any one of you guys can ask questions because I don't want to do that one.
Okay, my first question is probably pretty relevant and a little hard of a question, but do you have any idea of what Rutgers is going to do with this coming season?
In terms of like just what like normally would happen, or like
what if they have any ideas about how they can modify this season?
Okay, so actually I did get to speak to our director of bands, Professor Nichols, about a week or 2 ago, and he was like, basically right now we're operating business as usual. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, that's what I've been doing anyway. And he was like, he said that all the Big Ten, or it was like maybe all multiple college marching band directors were having a meeting to talk about like the situation. And he said once that's over, he'll kind of take into consideration everything that's going on as well as all the options that they were talking about in the meeting. And then from there, it's a big old leadership meeting with drum majors, section leaders, drill advisors. But as of right now, there's no concrete plan. It's just operating as normal.
Interesting. Okay, not to take the spotlight away from Jess, but I never told you guys, but my first instrument was actually clarinet.
Hey.
Yeah,
I switched to the better one. So.
I want the whole. It's a little short story, but I started in 4th grade. I went to like the instrument trial thing, and I really wanted to play oboe, but they didn't have any oboes there, and I was like, that kind of looks like an oboe. So I was on that for 4 years, and then after my first year of marching band in high school, I went to my director and I wanted to be on the drum line because I thought they were so cool. And then he was like, hey, have you ever thought about playing French horn? And I was like, what's a French horn? And he was like, okay. we'll get you started on that on Monday. And then now I play horn and mellow. So since you're a music ed major, right?
Yes.
You said. So if you have to, like, do you have to learn most, if not all, the instruments that there are in like bands, like common concert bands?
Yes, I have learned everything except oboe and some of the string instruments. I did violin, so I know nothing about viola, cello, and double bass.
Do you have a favorite?
A favorite instrument?
Yeah, a favorite one besides clarinet, because I'm going to guess that one was probably your favorite. There's a correct answer here, so.
If you're looking for me to say French horn, that's not the answer.
Oh my God.
Oh, Jess.
Oh, that was a tag.
You incorrect child.
I'm sorry. French horn was like the first new instrument I learned in college, and then it screwed me over for the rest of brass tech.
It does. I remember when I was a music ed major for a year and I was in brass tech, and everybody else, even the other brass players, struggled so much on horn, and I was like, just play it. Just play it. It's not hard. Just play it. It's like,
I could play it. I made a sound out of it fine, but then when it came to playing trumpet, the teacher was like, "Hey, you're using French horn embouchure," and I was like, "Well, I got nothing." I would say euphonium though.
That's a good one. I suppose that's a good one. That's okay.
Yeah, I don't have the. I would say definitely a brass instrument, because it's definitely different than a woodwind. But I don't have the lungs for a tuba, and I hate slide positions on a trombone. And I used to like trumpet, but now that I march baritone, I have to go euphonium.
That's fair. Okay, this next one is kind of for Craig and you together. How can you guys describe like the best or your favorite parts of a typical Rutgers game day?
So I think one of the most like fun parts would be Scarlet Walk. So that's what we're around, like this little area by the Rutgers Stadium, by a statue that commemorates the very first football game. And the team gets off the bus and walks to the stadium. And in the moments leading up to that, we're playing like a bunch of our stand tunes. And if our show music is fun, we'll also play some of the show music. But it's kind of like pretty lax, I'd say, and just a whole lot of fun, which is why that would probably be one of my favorite parts. I guess performing, obviously, pregame and halftime would come in a close second, because it's like such a rush. And I always have such a fun time conducting on the podium, because the other drum majors are often just like really fun to like communicate with, just like facial expressions alone. And I know Craig, you've seen some of us up there, like we look like complete dorks.
I mean, it's hard for a drum major to not look like a dork while they're on the podium conducting.
That's fair.
Unless you're like, what's his name? Dean from Phantom from like 2014 or whatever. I don't know, whenever that was a thing in the drum corps world, but like it's
just conducting and getting to like interact with my fellow drum majors, like regardless of how far away they are from me, it's just really fun. So those are my two faves. All right, Craig, I gotta hear it.
All right, so mine, we're throwing it back to 2015, 2016, those two seasons.
Back when the team was like good?
No, well, the
TGS era band.
The team was better.
Was not winning two games a year.
But that's when the second, 2016, we won 2 games. 2015, I think we won 5 games that year.
It's okay. Maryland's
we won 4 or 5.
So we're all good.
But anyway, so this was under the old director. Nothing against the new director. I love him to death. He's a fantastic guy. But the old director, we changed pregame when the new directors came. But one thing we used to do was we used to have a true run-on. And we'd start in the tunnels, and the drummers would go out, and they'd start drumming. And the cannon would boom, the drums would start, and then like 16 counts later, maybe it was 32 counts, we start sprinting out onto the field.
So it's a Braveheart.
Yeah, and so we were like sprinting in lines, but like we were still running, and like your heart was like pumping wit by the time you got out there. Like now we do like a little like modified. I think we call it the modified chair step or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like we still have like a run on, but like it's not the same as like we were sprinting out onto the field. And my favorite memory from college band was my freshman year when the team was doing well. There was a chance we were going to make it to a bowl game. It was the blackout game. The entire stadium, everyone was wearing black. It was nighttime. We got the bright lights on. A night game at Rutgers now, I don't remember the last time we've had one. They don't really happen anymore.
The first game of this past season.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I wasn't marching then, so.
I mean, that's
I didn't march
fair.
this past year. But just like running out and like there were actually fans in the stadium, like, and like having fans in the stadium during a pregame show like isn't a common thing at Rutgers. And from what I've seen, it's not that common at most schools.
It's not really that common, to be honest.
Like having fans in the stadium for pregame, but like at that game, the stadium was already packed, and so like the roar of the crowd as you like exited the tunnel onto the field, and just the deafening sound like coming at you, it was like under the lights, and like with the light reflecting off like the freshly polished horns. It was just such like a magical experience that I wish I could just always like relive that feeling. But
I know exactly what feeling you're talking about.
But like run on just and like actually sprinting out of that tunnel was such just a magical feeling that I miss so much.
Alex,
It doesn't matter.
What?
It doesn't matter how many years of MSK you do. Canon always gets you.
The cannon. Oh my god, the cannon.
Canon always gets
You
you.
guys have a cannon?
We have a
Oh,
legitimate.
we have a cannon.
We don't have a cannon.
Well, get on our level.
We
IU
have
has a
train.
cannon.
We have a train. Well, IU sucks.
Well, they also have a cannon. We also have a train.
Oh, we
our
also do have a
trains-
train.
We have a special train. That's for all you pretty
But
fans
you know
out
what?
there.
You know what? None of us have. None of us have
Spoiler up.
Penn State's roar. Rawr.
No, Northwestern does.
Oh,
Northwestern
don't even
does.
start with me on that.
They have
Well,
the
none of us are
same
from
roar.
Northwestern, so that's-
It's the exact same sound.
I'm gonna be honest. It sucks. Cut it.
Okay. I have another question. I forgot my question.
I was gonna say so I had a question, Jess. So so you did or what I'm assuming is you did 4 years of marching in high school, right?
Yes.
So why did you end up taking that first semester off when it came to college? And then was being in Pep Band in the spring enough to convince you in order to do it in the fall, just based on the people that you were around?
Okay. So I had talked to a lot of people, specifically teachers that I had taught at my school as like assistant marching band directors and such.
Mhm.
And a couple of them actually went to Rutgers.
Mhm.
And they were like, don't bother with the marching band. And I had just talked to so many other Rutgers students when I went for like my audition and whatever. And they were just like, it's like the schedule is so busy and blah, blah, blah. And I was also commuting at the time.
Okay.
So I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull off like doing my however many credit load, doing ensembles, practicing, getting homework done, and also doing marching band. So I was like, I just like won't go for it. Who knows? Maybe I won't even miss it. But the semester rolled around and like it started getting into like the heat of the semester, and I would just sit at my desk, just like finish my work, like now what? So I was just like, I have so much time, I don't know what to do with it. So I was like, all right, maybe we'll check something out. And then I heard about the pep band, I think in my brass tech class, because my brass tech teacher ran the pep bands.
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what, we're going to do it. So that was the only year they had auditions for pep band. So I did my audition, and I started playing at games. Turns out I really like basketball.
Basketball's
And-
great.
Oh, absolutely. It's fast paced and I just get
So
really
much
into
fun.
it.
So much fun.
So that and the stand tunes were really fun, and like interacting with some of the students was like really cool. I mean, the way Rutgers pep band is set up is that they have the clarinets all the way in the back. So I was kind of like far from everything and far from everyone,
Hmm.
but I was still like really like hyped. And I kind of already had the idea in the back of my head that I was going to do marching band the next year, but like doing pep band like set me on that.
So, well, I was curious. So, what interested you in doing marching band starting off in high school? And like, did that feeling come back during the spring semester when you were at basketball games? That feeling of you like why you wanted to join originally in the first place? Did that feeling come back at all in the spring of your freshman year?
So I can't really think of like why I actually wanted to join marching band in high school.
Hmm.
Like I think it was kind of more of just this is a thing you can do. Like you play an instrument, do it.
Hmm.
It's fun. So I did it, and then I loved it. And I remember actually like my senior speech of high school. I was like, everyone had gone before me, and they were like, I don't know why I'm still here. And I got up there and I was like, I'm here because I love it. I'm not even going to try and lie to you guys. Like, I literally told them that. And I guess what I liked about high school marching band was just like the friends that I got from it and being able to hang out with them, having people with a similar mindset.
Hmm.
And I don't want to say I didn't get that from pep band, but there were some aspects of like a friend group that I got, but also just like the thrill of, I guess, doing something that wasn't necessarily school,
Hmm.
I guess was the thing that was really it, but I don't think I'd compare it to high school. I tell all my friends that are going to college soon, I always tell them college band is nothing like high school, like absolutely not. And it's just like, sure, there's like drama and whatever, but like the experience itself is completely different and definitely worth your time.
Yeah, high school band is quite a time.
Yeah.
Let's just say that we're not going to go into any details because I have a
Yeah.
lot of juicy details about my high school marching band.
Yeah.
I actually have a question for all three of you. So the Big Ten the Big Ten bands are some of them, most of them are famous for the low chair step, or we call it the low chair, or like the marching high step that we do as opposed to rolling. Do you guys have some sort of version of that step? And did you do it in high school? And what was that transition like? If all those questions line up.
Rutgers does modified chair, and I know that only happened when the new directors came in, and it's only for run-on during pregame. Everything else is traditional core roll step. Um, I obviously came in a little rusty, and I'm still a little rusty considering I don't really march. I'm just standing on a podium. Um, but I wouldn't necessarily say that picking up modified chair step was too difficult. But I also have a dance background. So
As
like
somebody who
learning to do things with my body isn't necessarily like out there.
But as somebody who doesn't have a dance background, learning it was more of a challenge. Um, Especially somebody who'd been doing just a regular roll step for, I think at that point, like 6 years, 4 years in high school, and then 2 years in college. For somebody who has just been rolling and was not a dancer, and it was definitely harder. But having that dance background definitely would improve that a little bit easier, making it easier to kind of learn how to do something different with your body.
Even roll step was a little different than like
Hmm.
from high school to college. Like we used to do place before we would change directions in high school. So it would just be like a toe point instead of like rolling through. And then in college, they were like, no, you roll through your foot and then you go the other way. And I was like, don't change the direction of your foot. And I was just like, this is weird.
Yeah, it's definitely like this. I think the hardest part of like switching any technique is just like the small differences. Like you can easily like learn, like, yeah, sure, it'll be like physically taxing on your legs to like learn, if you're only roll stepping, to like learn the modified chair step or any sort of like high step or whatever. But like that's putting things in a completely separate camp. I think what Jess just talked about is, from my experience, definitely the harder thing to learn, which is you're going from one version of a technique to another version of that same technique. Because you're like, yes, I'm doing the same thing, but then like some high schools, you just kind of tap your toe if you change directions. Other places, like I know at Rutgers, I said high school, but I meant schools in general, and marching band in general, like you roll through all the way before you change the direction. Some places you angle your foot in the direction of the change that you're making. But at Rutgers, it's you don't change until you change. I hit my mic. I hope that didn't like pop.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, so at Maryland, we still do a roll step. I'm not like that familiar with much other things than roll step because like I feel like my marching band expertise is much less than you guys. But I know that from high school to college, it was slightly modified. I know in college, for the most part, I think we still do the toe point thing in order to change direction. That's usually more for forward backward movement. Not for as much of like side to side movement. So usually that is just we just keep the direction of our foot. We don't toe point in that sense. But I know that basically what we did is just more of a modified version of a roll step, and then that's at least from what I remember. And I don't think that we really did anything like too crazy. Like I know like we're not like Wisconsin, and we're not like HBCU bands and stuff like that. But
wait, so does Maryland do any sort of high step?
Well, the only high step that we do is, I'm trying to think. We do high step during pregame at sometimes, but other than that, no. And then like running onto the field for pregame, we double time. So I don't know if you guys. I mean, that's just it's basically like running. So I just think it's running, but we just have to keep our feet in time, but also double time with it. And then there's, I don't know if I want to discuss it now, but there's a thing that we do during pregame called block and mess, where we double time and we essentially snake around. And it's like one of the craziest things ever. And like, if you screw up just a little bit, like you might die. And I don't say that it's something that's like a bad thing, or I mean, it's something that's like supposed to scare people. It's literally just like, it's such a precision movement that everyone needs to stay in line. Everyone needs to stay a certain amount of steps in between each other in order for it to work perfectly, and in order for it to actually be executed on the field in such a way visually that it works. And like if one person's off, then there's like giant separation in between people. If one person falls, then that slows up everyone in behind them, and then it creates a giant gap in front of them. Like it's a whole thing.
I've watched Maryland's pregame too.
Yeah, as somebody who's been to Maryland football games, I think 2 times. I that's always blown my mind watching.
Oh, it is the scariest. Trust me.
Why do I not remember it?
Oh, it's the scariest thing, and it's a whole thing because the PA announcers or the PA announcer comes up and he's like, and now going to march at 250 beats per minute, and then it's like this whole thing, and then they're like block in mess, and then everyone just goes, and it's just like it's supposed to look like chaos because like I mean it is, but it isn't, because coming into it, like we're all just doing our own thing. We're all like dancing around being idiots. Like I know that some, I do it, but other people do the thing where like the, much like what the tubas do, or like the one sousaphone in the Ohio State Marching Band to dot the I, how they strut out.
Holy crap.
Oh yes, no, we just do whatever we want. Oh wait, are you watching it?
Yeah, here. Like.
Oh, it's
oh,
crazy.
wait. I do recognize that actually.
Oh, it is a time.
Oh my god.
Let me tell you. But then at the end of it, then we do a high step. But like after that, so we do that and then we go right into our alma mater. And I swear to God, like I couldn't breathe half of that. So basically the entire alma mater is me playing about 5 notes and just trying to breathe in between that and just being like, I'll play here because I have enough breath. So I'll put 2 notes here and then I'll keep breathing hard. And then I'll play another 3 notes here and then maybe another 1 note here if it works. But it's it's something else. I don't know if I like it or not, but it is.
There's nothing like being in marching band on the field, like during performance, and the only thing going through your brain is don't pass out, don't pass out, don't pass out.
Yeah.
When
That's the big
when we used to do the full run on my freshman and sophomore year, there's a part of the fight song that we only play during pregame, and it used to be run on directly into the fight song. So I didn't realize this until my junior year, that I didn't actually know the beginning of the fight song properly until my junior year, because there were points where I just wouldn't play certain bars because I would like take those as like, this is where I catch my breath, and like I'll catch my breath, play a little bit, catch my breath, and then it was like, and then all of a sudden, like I wasn't the section leader my junior year, but like with the section leader was like one of my best friends, and he was like, hey Craig, you were a music major for a year, can you just help me out like with teaching this? And I was like, yeah. So then he was like, all right, can you play it? And then everybody listened to him, and he was like, dude, that was wrong. I was like, what was it? Was it? Don't worry, Dr. B or Professor Nichols, if you're watching, I have learned the fight song. I've learned it by now,
But Jess, so I'm curious, since you've done pep band one more year than you've done marching band, which one of the two do you prefer?
It's definitely close, but I'd probably say pep band just because
Okay.
I resonate a lot more with
That's
basketball.
the right answer. That's the correct
Yeah.
answer.
Oh,
Yeah.
hang on a second. I don't know if that's
I think
exactly-
I'm
Jason's
sorry,
the only
Professor
pro
Nichols. I'm
football-
sorry, Dr. B, but like
pro football
it's got-
person here.
But in your guys' defense, I haven't been to a men's game yet, and I haven't played in that band.
There is
So
nothing.
I'll get back to you with that.
There is
But
nothing.
currently,
I mean,
marching bands like pride and joy.
Valid.
there is truly nothing like a college basketball atmosphere, and I think for you guys experiencing it really like huge atmospheres at Rutgers for the first time this year because the team traditionally hasn't been good. It's probably like a whole different animal. But like at Maryland, since I'm not trying to brag. It's more of just like it's just what it is. Men's basketball is the sport, other than like lacrosse. But like no one cares about lacrosse for the most part, unless you're like in Maryland. But men's basketball games like a sellout. Like we do this thing called a flash mob every year, where I mean you know what a flash mob is. We all don't like it because it's like going on for like 10 years and it's too much now. And it's like we're not in 2013 anymore. The Harlem Shake isn't going on. Like update and be new.
Throwback. Wow.
And that game, that atmosphere, that was against Michigan State. We had college game day there. So this was this year. We had college game day there in the morning, and the atmosphere for that game was crazy. Like it was like I swear every game that I have, and I'm sure it's the same thing for you guys. Like I swear I'm gonna have a heart attack at some point because like the adrenaline's just rushing. And that's all it does is it just rushes the entire game. And even if we're up by 15, I still think we're gonna blow it and lose. It's like it's not great for you. But
I put my foot in my mouth on many occasions.
Yeah.
I
think watching the transition from like Rutgers basketball in the years of Eddie Jordan as head coach when we were the joke of any conference that we would be in. And then joining the Big Ten and consistently being the last, like the bottom of the conference. Then my main man, Steve Peichel, came in, and he started this beautiful rebuilding process. And it was at the beginning of the season, we were picked in the preseason like predictions. We were picked to finish 12th. And he drove that into the players, and that really got into them. And so they put energy on the court at the beginning of the season against the small teams that like they could easily beat like in their sleep. And then we as the band made sure to like continue to bring the hype, because like if the crowd gets used to winning, the crowd gets docile. And then we lose that fear factor. But Jess and I, as two of the cheer callers for the pep band, we made sure to be the loudest people in that arena to make sure that the crowd did not get quiet and to keep the rack selling out every game. And I think that we did a good job. And I think I'm not going to say that like we personally were the reason that the team did well, but like the band definitely had an impact
Oh yeah.
on the team. And I think that most people in the Rutgers pep band and marching band would probably say that they prefer pep band to marching band because of that energy and that excitement that we bring. That just, like, sure, our football games don't really get that hype just because the team has not been doing great the past few years. But, like, you don't get that hype in a college football game or in any football game, really, just because it's less intimate of a venue. And you're so far away from the field. But in a basketball game, you're right there. The players can hear you. The coaches can hear you. Every fan can hear you if you want to be heard. So, like, I think that hype and that energy, plus the fact that the Rutgers Athletic Center is just so amazingly designed to where it echoes so much, that it's a fantastic venue, and I love it.
I was going to say, so on top of that, so since, game day for basketball is kind of different than game day for football, because game day for football is like a full day thing. Yeah. And obviously for football and kind of for basketball, it's I'm sure that for you guys, and the same thing with me in terms of, what happened with football, that it's tough to try to, keep excitement and keep hype when the team isn't doing as well in the field. Like, what do you do in terms of that for football? How do you continue to do that as the drum major, someone who has to show that enthusiasm during the game? And then on top of that, how would you describe a normal game day just for a football game, like if it was a Saturday noon kickoff?
Okay. So it can get kind of difficult to kind of like keep up the pace. But my mind's kind of always kind of running. So there's always some form of energy there. And I'm usually able to at least keep up with the game. So I'm able to like stay engaged, which I think is more important than like putting on like the cheer face. Because so long as you're engaged, like you're supporting the team. For game day, the noon kickoffs that we all know too well at Rutgers. So our call is 6 a.m. to catch. Yeah.
Ours is 7.
That's with a little asterisk.
Ours is 7. You guys get called an hour before us?
Oh. So it's 6 a.m. to catch the buses that take us to our marching band facility that holds all of our helmets and uniforms. Okay. And then 25 minutes later is when we depart to the practice field. So it's butts and seats on the bus at 6:25. And if your butt is not in a seat on your bus, you're marked late. From there, for me, it's go to the truck and unload the truck and set up the sound equipment. For everyone else, it's if your equipment is on the truck, you get your stuff and go. If you're in charge of moving a certain piece of equipment, like podiums, sound equipment, whatever else, yard line markers, you get that, you set it up, and then you go warm up until we do group warm-ups. So we do arcs, and then we chunk our pregame into like larger sections. We don't do a full run of pregame on game day, thank God. And then we clean halftime. We usually don't, if I'm remembering correctly, we usually don't do a full run of halftime.
Unless that may have been new this past year, but usually I think we have done full runs in the past.
I think for some of the shows, I know some of the shows this past year we did because we had like tech stuff going on. Yeah. I feel like it doesn't always happen. If the show's going well, I feel like we usually don't. But I could just be remembering incorrectly.
I think you're right. If the show was going well and like we were good like throughout the week and it was pretty solid, I don't think we would. But if it was something that we just wanted to be sure we had it, I think generally was when we would do the full runs.
Yeah. from there, you get a couple of minutes to kind of get your stuff together, and then it's lining up to head over to the Scarlet Walk. So most of that time, it's just me and the other drum majors packing up the sound equipment and finding a TA to move a podium and making sure we have all the sound equipment that we need to bring to the walk. And then it's start yelling at everybody to get in line, because nobody likes to listen, and you have to yell it so many times before they actually listen to you. That's a fun game that I like to play every game day. How many times do I have to yell instructions before people start doing what I need them to do? Then it's march down to the Scarlet Walk, play, and then it's like a free-form walk back, but we're still in our lines. We get actually a really nice lunch break, like a good amount of time. You get to eat, and then you get time to relax, but you have to make sure that you're in uniform and in the parade block at a specific time.
I think that's
awesome.
90. I think it's 90 minutes before kickoff.
Something like that.
So you guys don't have like section tailgates or anything like that?
No,
we have a band parent tailgate.
Okay.
Yeah, so the band parents, they have a tailgate, and what a lot of people from the band, is they'll go and they might eat the sandwiches that are provided by the band, but then it's Jersey Mike's subs. Not bad, but if they've been sitting out there for a while, especially early in the season when they're sitting out there in the hot sun for a couple hours, just getting kind of gross, then you take a walk over to the band parent tailgate, get a hot dog or two or some chili or whatever they've got.
Oh, because I was gonna say, because at Maryland, every section has their own tailgate before a game, and they basically make sure to have everything set up by the time that we're done practice over on the practice field, which is next to the football field. We'll come over and then we'll tailgate, chill out for a little bit, and then we'll get ready for pregame and all of that.
Yeah, there used to be kind of more of a tailgate thing for the band. My freshman year, the band parents, they would have their own tailgate, but then a few of them would come together and they'd also cook food and make just trays and trays of hot dogs and hamburgers and whatnot for the band. So it wouldn't really be a tailgate, but we called it our tailgate.
Mm-hmm.
But we, for the most part, we don't really, there's not a whole lot of tailgating for the band itself.
Okay.
So after the Scarlet Walk, do you guys go to the stadium and then play the game? Pre-game and halftime then? Or is there something in between there?
No, after the Scarlet Walk, it's back to the practice field for lunch.
Yeah.
Okay,
then
so
breakfast or whatever.
It's Jersey Mike's subs at 10 a.m.
Nice.
It's really irrelevant.
And then
it's march down to the stadium, which is the actual official march. We play the fight song a couple times, and then chill in the tunnels until the cannon.
I really want a cannon now.
That's pretty cool.
Steal it from IU.
You know what we should get? Have you ever seen old World War II pictures where they have those big cannons that go on the train? We gotta get one of those. Thing's huge.
We've got it looks like an old timey Civil War, or not civil, probably Revolutionary War cannon. I'm assuming it's not. But
it's probably
not. Yeah,
it
but
is.
it's probably probably 10 years old. But the people who do it, they have these revolutionary costumes on, and so our whole thing is our school was founded before the civil. I keep saying Civil War, before the Revolutionary War. We were founded in 1766. So at our 250th anniversary a few years ago, the whole thing was revolutionary, and so they had. No.
Oh yeah, and
the
then,
costumes,
and then the R and the U were the only things that were brought out from that.
Yeah, if you look,
I thought that was the dumbest thing.
You can find pictures of
awesome.
This big sign that says revolutionary with a big capital red R and a big capital red U, and
That's like every single section picture ever.
Yeah, it's pretty, because that sign goes right where the band buses pull up by the practice field. So you always see pictures of the clarinets by that sign. You always see pictures of the color guard there. Occasionally,
Piccolos,
maybe piccolos,
saxophones.
trumpets. I don't know. I don't think the mellows. At least when I was with them, I don't think we ever took a picture there.
I
I
don't
made
think
fun
they
of
did
that
one
sign.
this year.
Yeah.
I made fun of that sign so much when we went to Rutgers a couple years ago. Oh
Yeah.
man, I didn't. I just let it have it. I was like, what is this?
I mean,
Imagine Alex.
Don't get me wrong.
Alex going up to the sign. It's just like on the fence. Alex goes over like, it's just him, just like, what is this? He's just yelling at the sign, just going off at the sign.
like, don't get me wrong. I love my school. I love it. But yeah, it's pretty cringe. Like,
No. The only thing more cringe than that is
the intro
Birthplace
video.
Upside Down B.
What?
You know when they put the birthplace in the stadium, the word birthplace?
Is it upside down?
The B is upside down
Why is the B upside down?
because they're dumb.
I'm gonna have to
because
look at,
there's no reason. It's
I
because
didn't
they
notice
messed
that.
it up.
I'll have
They
to
literally just messed it up. Like,
I'll have to look for that.
Yeah.
I did not notice that.
The only thing
if you look at
I need to look
I
this
think
up now. This is worth it.
it was one of Gina's pictures. The one where she posted it, I commented on it. I was like, birthplace, but with an upside down B. And like you can you wouldn't tell unless you looked closely enough at it. And I was like, yeah, that's Rutgers.
Jess, if you find the picture, send it to me, and I will put it in the podcast right now, and it will just appear on screen.
I will make sure I do that.
All right.
I'm trying to find it. I don't know if I can.
Do you guys have any post-game activities with the band, or do you just march straight back?
So
Loyal Sons. So we
yeah,
play
so
for our
we-
alumni.
we used to have a little bit longer of a post-game tradition, but the new directors kind of just game days long. They didn't want to make it longer by having a bunch of like post-game stuff, so they kind of cut down a lot of it.
We do it. It's just in the stands now.
Okay.
There used to be a few more things, but a lot of we used to at a standstill completely like play all the music from halftime. That got cut. I think that's what, maybe we just play like a song like every single time. But now, like Jess said, we play a song called Loyal Sons, which is it's a Rutgers traditional song. And it's called Loyal Sons. You can probably figure out what it's about, you know?
Yeah, I got it from context.
Yeah, and then
Interesting.
and then we would sing the alma mater.
Do you guys usually welcome other like how often do you guys usually welcome other bands to Rutgers? And when you do, because I mean I guess I have experience of it when I went to Rutgers, but what's normally what you guys do in terms of interacting with them either before the game, during halftime, or post game if you guys are both on the field?
I know Penn State comes, but they're like really close to us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've ever like interacted with them. We've had kids who come from like other schools and who will come like hang out at the field with us, but that's not like the whole band. It's just like a couple students from the opposing team school. So we'll usually kind of like have them hang out with us when we're practicing, or even after the game, like do a hat trade or something.
Yeah,
but
that's actually how I got this hat. When Maryland came up to visit Rutgers a few years ago.
I was at that game. Maryland lost that game. I don't want to talk about it.
And I'm pretty sure that was the last conference win we've had.
I don't want to talk about it.
Wait, you guys were like baseball caps in the stands then?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, like with that, Jess, were you there when Maryland went to Rutgers a couple years ago?
No.
That was your freshman year when you.
No.
Oh, wait a minute! I remember it.
Band.
I wasn't in the band though, but a lot of my friends were. But I remember seeing the pictures.
That was my sophomore year. Oh wait, that would have been your freshman year. That makes sense.
I need to fix that.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, funny enough, so a few of my friends that I was in band with in high school, I don't know if you know them, but Brendan Joyce.
Yeah.
Harris Jackman, and there might have been I'm trying to think of the other one. Oh God, I can't. He's in the He's in the pit now. Taylor off.
Oh yeah, I know.
Okay. I
Yeah,
know. Yes.
and then Matt, who's the pit guy, was our pit guy in high school. So like, funny enough, like I think I took a selfie with a couple of them. But I mean, like it was a great atmosphere. Like Rutgers fans really enjoy football. It was a lot of fun. I love that actually leads me into my next thing, which was traditions. Like, is there anything for basketball games that you guys do if there's like a free throw? Do you guys do a certain thing?
Oh, we have a lot of basketball traditions.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Would you like to?
Yes, please let us know.
I'll quiz you on this to make sure you're good with it.
What the?
Thank you. For free throws, we normally have someone yell 1, 2, and then we all clap, and then we hold up the according numbers on the hands that correspond to their jersey number. So if they're 35, we hold up a 5 in the left and then a 3 in the right, so it like relays correctly.
Lazy
People
35.
Yeah.
53.
Yeah, exactly. You flip the numbers.
So that's one of them. We obviously have a lot of chants, but Craig, you're gonna have to help me out here.
Alrighty.
He's been ready for this day.
I love basketball because I love screaming. And so.
Do you lose your voice a lot at games before Craig starts? Jess, do you lose your voice a lot at basketball games?
Absolutely. Less so at women's games because I don't have to work as hard to project. But when I'm calling cheers, I normally only start them and I can't continue them, or else I'm done before my time's even up.
And are you in the band for basketball season, or are you still a drum major? Like how does that dynamic work once the football season ends and the basketball season starts?
Okay, so it's interesting because it's actually changing a little bit.
Okay.
My first 2 years, it was only directors and teaching assistants that would conduct.
Mm-hmm.
But then this past year, there were times where I was my sophomore year, there would be times where I was just put on the headset during half, just for when the team's running out. He'd be listen, I have to go to the bathroom, no one else is here, just get them all up at this time and count them off for bells when the team's running out. And I was that's fine, because once we start playing the fight song, the band's on autopilot, I don't need to do anything. But then this past season, actually, I was on headset for a couple quarters at a couple games and conducting, calling things, and communicating on the headset with the people at athletics and the DJ. And it was actually really cool, but sometimes I do miss playing. But the headset is such a different experience that I'm just I'd be willing to do that a couple more times.
And one more thing before Craig starts with the cheers. At basketball games, do you get away with swearing? Like have you had that experience before, or are you not someone who goes the profane route when they're chanting or yelling something at someone?
No, Craig's answer.
We've gotten called out in the past by athletics, so we have to be kind of very careful with what we say. We have a lot of specifically tuba players that are very very nasty sometimes. I think it's hilarious. Not everyone thinks it's hilarious though, so we kind of have to watch it. One of our rules is if you see that you're getting into a player's head, you can stop. Because I remember my freshman year, we had an incident where we were yelling at a guy named Dimitri, and we made him cry.
We just decided anytime he gets the ball, we would just scream his name at him.
There was something big this season, too. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was
There was something that somebody thought they heard something from the band being said, directed towards a coach of a women's team. There's a supposed misogynistic remark that was supposedly heard Nobody else heard it except for this one person who happened to be in a position of authority. But the director was like, I didn't hear it. Nobody else in the band, like none of like the people that are responsible that I trust in the band heard it. No
And,
other
like,
people around you heard
She
it.
just like didn't want to hear it. Like she didn't believe us.
She didn't like the director anyway. So we're not saying that she made up that but her ears may
she
have
might have
wanted to
heard
hear
it.
something. She very
She
well
may have heard it, but it just didn't come from the band.
Yeah,
That's weird.
because the band is right next to the student section, and when there is a student section at a women's game, we're not in charge of what they say. Like
At basketball games, a couple of the people from the low brass section will like look up facts about the opposing teams, like either school,
There we
state,
go. I like that.
town, and just start yelling them.
I like that.
And we actually got roasted. It was fake, but at the women's Indianapolis tournament last year, we went to the men's game because Rutgers was playing Indiana, and we were like, we're in Indiana, let's go. So Athletics got us tickets, and we went. So he's doing the thing where he starts yelling facts, and one of the facts was like something about Indiana's voting or something.
Yeah, I think there was that. I think there was like a 27% voter turnout in one specific, like in one player's hometown during the 2016 presidential election. Like
This lady,
it was not even anything like. It wasn't like
it was a
this
straight
voted for like a
fact.
specific party or anything. It
That's
was just
so good.
this town had this voting percentage in the 2016 presidential
That's
election.
This
so good.
lady in front of us turns around and she's like, you better watch your mouth, like there are kids around here. And it's just like,
She was like, you have to be an example for the kids. Like, I get it if you want to cheer for your school, that's fine. But you know, you have to be more respectful.
She's
You're
a
in
Karen.
somebody else's house.
like,
Yes, she was.
She's
a Karen.
Yeah, she's a Karen.
And that was also
that's-
you
where I
want
bought
us
this.
to set an example for your kids? Maybe you should have a higher voting turnout.
That is true.
Use your voice, man.
Were you always the person like from when you started Pep Band? Were you always the person who tried to start up chants, or did that become something that kind of evolved for you as you continued to be in the
So it's
band
like
and
a
gain
role
seniority?
thing.
Yeah,
It's like we
something
have
that gets passed
it's a
down.
student assigned thing. But I remember my freshman year, excuse me, there was this one trombone player who was just like not good at calling cheers, and I just always remember there being silence when we would have the ball. So there were plenty of times where I started cheers my freshman year and no one knew who I was, and every single time I did it, people turned around and gave me nasty looks, and I was like, listen, I'm right, she should have started the cheer.
Yeah.
Next time, don't tell me what's up. Like,
What?
I didn't
Yeah.
know.
It originally, or at least, I mean, originally meaning when I came to Rutgers, it was a sax thing.
Yeah.
Because that was just, there was one guy who he did it, and like he was at every single game, and he's magically would scream the entire game, but would never lose his voice. And he had this like this wristband, like you know, like the quarterback wristband that has like you can like write as has like, the sheet
Oh
on.
my God.
He had that, and it was so disgusting. But he like the ceremonial thing was like he wanted to pass that to the next person, but nobody wanted to take that from him. And so eventually he graduated. Eventually he graduated, and then a few trumpets took over. A few trumpets and I think a trombone or two, and they took over. And so then they did that. But they were only there for a year before they graduated. To where it got passed down to me and a few other people who were like the way you get passed in is you get noticed by the people who do it first for being loud and obnoxious and commanding a crowd. And you just have to have like a commanding presence.
I don't know if you could be heard if I was screaming full volume. Like my voice is a good carry. I don't think my voice could be heard in Mackey. I think it's too loud in Mackey.
At women's games, you can hear me. Not so much at men's because there's a larger crowd, but like during women's games, you can hear me.
I think the thing. Oh, sorry, Alex.
Yeah. So they can definitely hear me to the point of like whenever someone says something controversial, the director always looks at me first to see if I was the one who said something. But not all of the time it's me, only some of the time, because I do regret some of the things that I say. But like, so my voice has become that recognizable to the point of like, if I'm at a game, like they'll, most of the time it'll be me just screaming a bunch of senseless nothings into the air and into the atmosphere. Whether it gets heard or not is not my problem. I just do it just to do it.
Yeah.
But like, I don't go to a basketball game to like have a voice afterwards, is basically the way that I look at it.
No, at the preseason meeting before the basketball season started, the director he led the songs, and then he brought all of the cheer callers up and kind of just we talked through some cheers and whatnot, and like kind of the specific little things that we do during the game, the different like little traditions, and like at the beginning of the first half we do this, at the second half we do that, and kind of talk to that. But one thing I said was, bring a bottle of water. You're going to need it. And at the end of the game, if the bottle of water is not empty and you haven't lost your voice, you did it wrong. And
I always have to refill during halftime.
Always.
Always.
Except usually I strategically wait until a sax behind me is going to fill up his water. And then I'm like, hey, Joe, can you fill this up too? And then he'll take it.
I go during the game. Because I'm like, if I like whatever, like I'll just go during.
Oh, I hate leaving the stands during game.
I can't. It's
yeah.
It's the only way I can make it through the crowd. Otherwise,
you're right.
Like,
if you try and go during halftime, it's rough.
Well, I guess on that, do you Jess, do you have any superstitions that you have for either basketball games or for like on a game day before a game for football?
I wouldn't say before a game, but like during a game, the low brass has this like dumb thing where we do warm it up before free throws, and if they miss, you gotta warm it up faster and more viciously. There's also this other one. Oh, part of that is like, this is like, spare points please for free throws, and if you say something else that I'm not gonna say here, but if you say something else and they miss, it's your fault. Craig knows what I'm talking about.
I know. I'll tell you boys later.
We can elaborate later, but
That's
I just don't
great.
want to say it on here.
I guess another thing, and we don't want to keep you on for much longer, just because I'll probably only ask a few more questions. And feel free if you guys want to ask anything. So I don't know how the situation is at Rutgers in terms of the diversity of drum majors that you guys have had, but you being a female drum major, is that something that you really take to heart in what you're doing over the course of the season? Is that like is there, how long would you say the history of female drum majors is at Rutgers, and do you take more pride knowing that you're now part of that?
I can't really say so much for like the history, but my first year in the marching band, we had like a field major. It kind of was and wasn't a thing at the same time. It was just weird, but she was a female and I was like, oh, that's cool. It wasn't my favorite position, and I wish there was a little bit of better training. But I never necessarily really counted that, just because like the position is so different, and especially specifically field major at Rutgers, it's like evolved over time where it's just like, I don't know exactly where it fits in, so like I just keep it as its own separate thing. But I think it wasn't my freshman year. It might have been a year or two before, there was another female drum major. Craig, you might.
So during my years at Rutgers, we've actually had a handful of female drum majors. My freshman year, I believe there was, gotta think back. My freshman year, we had 3 drum majors and a field major. The field major and one of the drum majors were guys, and then the other 2 drum majors were both female. The following year, we only had 2 drum majors and 1 field major. The field major was a guy, but the drum majors were both female. Then I believe the year after that, I think it was 2 guys and 1 girl, and I don't think we had a field major that year. Or, no, that...
No, that's right, that's right.
Yeah. And then after that, I think it was 3 guys and a girl, 3 guy drum majors and a girl field major.
Yeah.
And then we get to last year where I believe it was just you, Jess, is the only female?
Yeah. Coming in as a female, like, I had already had experience of, like, being in a leadership position from high school. And actually at my high school, most of the drum majors and, like, the kind of, like, recent years to when I was there were mostly female. But I know that as a female leader, it's very easy for people to take you the wrong way. So it was a lot of me working with my other 2 drum majors, and especially since they had more experience in the MSK than I did. If there was anything that I kind of wanted and or needed done, I'd kind of pass it by them, and then we could talk about it a little bit. But I had my days where I had, like, my, snapping points, and sometimes it can just be really difficult, like, to phrase things the right way without people thinking you're a bitch. Like, just to be straight up, like, it's so difficult. And I've actually talked about this in some of my, like, education courses. It's so difficult as a female leader. It's like the spectrum, but it's very easy where it's like, you're a bitch or people step all over you. And it's very difficult to get the right amount where it's just, like, perfect. I haven't perfected it. I'd say I'm kind of close. I'm definitely still working on it. And I hope that by the time I'm a teacher somewhere that, like, it's all settled in. But I definitely take pride in the fact that I'm a female drum major, especially a female drum major, not just necessarily at Rutgers, but in the Big Ten, because I know many other Big Ten schools, like, there isn't much female representation when it comes to drum majors. And I think it's just so awesome to be a kind of a part of that community. I remember I went to Michigan this past year because Rutgers had sent, like, a small pep band, and they have a female drum major. And I was just like, I went up to her and I was like, can we take a picture? I'm the drum major at Rutgers, like, girl power. And it was like really nice. And I remember this past season, like, the Big Ten or, like, the college marching band page had done, like, a post about drum majors, and I was just scrolling through it, specifically Big Ten drum majors, and I was scrolling through it just to see how many other girls there were, and I was like, wow, there really is, like, limited to, like, none. And this year we actually have another female coming in. Her name's Elizabeth. She's doing a really great job so far, and I'm really excited to work with her, and just really excited to kind of, like, push the idea of, like, we can handle it. Like, it's a lot, but we can definitely take it on.
Yeah, that's actually really awesome. I know
That's awesome.
I know at Maryland we've there have been 2 that I've been involved with, but I know it's like a different thing, because when at the end of practices we say a certain thing, and if it's just guy drum majors, we'll just say sir the entire time. But if there's a female drum major, we say sir and ma'am. So it's like a cool thing, and I know for them they love it because you say ma'am instead. So it's like, it's that passing the torch in a way, but it's also allowing for what you were talking about, which is what you said when you met the Michigan drum major, which is girl power. So, like, you are helping to expand that and make that more of a a normal thing, instead of just a bunch of guys that are up there conducting as normal.
Yeah, I always tell myself that if my directors didn't want me, that they wouldn't have picked me. There were so many other people, and on top of that, I'm like a rookie. Like, I had just finished my first season, so I know for a fact that if they didn't want me and didn't think I couldn't handle it. Is that a double negative?
Oh boy.
They didn't think if they didn't think you could handle it.
Yeah, they just wouldn't have picked me. But even like after having classes with them this past year, I can really tell that they're kind of like proud of the work I'm doing, and I think they kind of know like who I don't want to say I'm the head honcho, but specifically going into this year, I was kind of just like, all right, I'm laying it down. This is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna do it. If you don't like it, I'm right. You're wrong. Shut up.
Shout out
She
Eugene
walked
Lee
in with
Yang.
her book, slammed it on the table, and was like, "Okay, this is what we're doing."
She pulled that. She pulled that.
Oh no, literally did.
Yo, she pulled that right out of the Ranking playbook. I don't know if you
Yeah.
watched the Try Guys. There we go, Eugene
Yep.
Lee Yang. I'm right, you're wrong. Shut up. Shout out Ranking.
I don't want to say like my first year as drum major that there wasn't any order. And I'll give it to Harrison for being the one that kind of trained me and Kyle, and like him doing it on his own. But I think having two returning drum majors definitely makes the job a lot easier. But when me and the other drum majors met to kind of plan for this upcoming season, everyone was already under the assumption that like I knew what I was talking about and would just kind of go with it. And I told them, I was like, listen, if you have any ideas, just let me know. We could talk about it, and then from there figure out what to do. Because I don't want it to be like I'm just running everything, but it's just like I like to know where everything is. I like to have it organized, and I just like to have an idea of like what's going on. And I know we're also in the process of writing a leadership handbook, and it's honestly like a lot, but like me having my hand in doing that makes my job a lot easier. And I'm kind of at the point where it's just like we're in a loop of things. Like we've got it figured out. And obviously things are kind of coming up and we're going to be figuring that out. But like once that comes along, like it's just working with the directors. And actually that's one of the things I really like about being a drum major is how closely I get to work with the directors. Dr. V and Professor Nichols were absolutely outstanding, and I absolutely love working with them. And it's just so like relaxed working with them because they're kind of just like, all right, listen, like this is how it's going to be. This is the way we're going to do it. And we want you guys to do this, this, and this. Like, I'd say something that sets Rutgers apart from a lot of other Big Ten schools is, like, the presence of student leadership. Like, it's not just, like, a drill thing or a music thing. It's also a logistics thing and a paperwork thing and a keeping things organized thing. And we work with each other so often that if we had no leadership team, I don't want to say the band wouldn't function because our director of operations is absolutely outstanding, but it wouldn't have as much of a flow. Like our chain of command works really well, except when it doesn't and people forget how it works. But other than that, it's just like we're able to get things done quickly. And I'm always telling the directors, like, you give us what you need us to do. If you need us to do more, let us know. We'll figure it out. And it's kind of like a step for me in like learning, which is also why I like the position, because this is kind of relevant to what I want to do. I'm not necessarily saying I want to be a marching band director. Like that would be nice eventually, but like that's not my end goal. But it's just like things I need to know. Like I'm seeing the behind the scenes stuff. And I always tell people I don't even see the half of the behind the scenes stuff. I just see a little bit. And I know that what the directors do, like they're like dealing with a ton of other crap that like we could never handle just because of how like official the stuff they do is. But they're reasonable people. And the position I love, and I know it's not for everyone. Like being a drum major, I can tell you is like for a fact not for everyone. And I think there are a lot of people out there that are like, yeah, I could do it. And then you kind of just like I can look at those people, see them and be like, no, you can't. Like it's really easy to see the people that are just like, yeah, I could do that. Like, yeah. And then it's just like, oh, yeah, you can? Like, Sure. Whatever you say.
So, Alex
Yeah.
and Craig, have you guys ever thought about auditioning for drum major?
No.
I briefly toyed with the idea, and I was like, I wanted to be on the field.
I'm fine with what I do.
And like, yeah, I liked being on the field. I liked marching and playing my instrument.
That's
Plus,
fair.
it just didn't. I never saw myself as that kind of leader. So,
Yeah,
to me,
I really miss marching. Like, if I'm gonna be honest, like, I only got the 1 year of it, and like when I was going for my audition, like we had sign-ups, and it was just like, all right, you're put down the position that you want most, and then like the secondary, and I thought about it a lot. I thought about it really long and really hard, and I was like, yeah, I want to be a student leader. I was like, definitely want to be a section leader. Like, I will put that down. Like, no ifs, ands, buts. That, like, I will do that. I want to. And then I was like, hey, drum major would be kind of cool, right? I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. Like, big old podium, different uniform, waving your arms around. I was like, that'd be cool. And I was like, oh, but I want to march again. And I was like, but it would be cool to be on the big podium. And I was just like, you know what? We'll put it down as my second option. And then I wound up getting it. And I honestly love the way things turned out. So thanks, Dr. B and Nichols, I guess.
Jess, let me tell you, what you're doing is a lot. And it's crazy how much you're able to just like keep everything sane. But like, props to you for doing that, especially in your second year in college and foregoing marching. Like, that's a lot to do, and it's impressive that you've had the success that you've had now. You know, with
I'm
the
proud of
2020s,
myself.
it's
Yeah, you're kind of awesome.
kind of. What the heck was that?
Sorry.
No, but I was
I
gonna
will say
say
thank you to that anyway. Thank you.
So I have
Totally awesome.
because I don't want to keep this going for too long, so then Craig doesn't die trying to edit it. I just had some kind of like quick fire things in terms of just what you've done in your marching career and just talking about that in general. What are some common misconceptions that people have about marching band that you can attest to, and or that you've experienced over the years?
Time, like time period. People are like, oh, I'm not gonna have time for it, and I'm always like, if you love it, you will find time for it. And this is something that I tell everyone, including the directors, when it comes to joining marching band period, or people that want to do leadership. I'm always like, there are people that say I don't have time, and I'm like, that's bullshit, because they're gonna find time to do other things. Like, if they truly want to be here, they will put in the time.
Second thing, common misconceptions about Rutgers, because as someone from New Jersey, I mean, there's a reason why I didn't want to go to Rutgers. No offense to Rutgers, I know it's a great institution, but I just wanted to get out of the state. But common misconceptions about Rutgers that you've had as someone who's an in-state student, and that you can attest to.
People are just like, it's a big old dumb state school, and that really grinds my gears. I remember, I don't want to tell a long story, but like this one specifically grinds my gears. My senior year of high school, I was in my calculus class, and this girl started crying because she got waitlisted at a school, and she was like, I'm gonna have to go to Rutgers. And I was like, you're kidding, right? Like, you're kidding. And my teacher went on this big old spiel about how one of her students went to Rutgers, and then he went here and did this, and now he has this, and then he paid off his mortgage, and then this, but he went to Rutgers. And I'm like, but he went to Rutgers. Like, what's wrong with Rutgers? Like, one of the things, like, we're such a, like, proactive school. Like, our engineering department actually does things. Like, we have people that do projects that, like, do stuff, that fix train tracks, if I remember a story correctly from someone, fixing train tracks, doing something with sand dunes, and, like, other stuff like that. And it's just like, yeah, we weed people out fast because they think it's just a stupid state school. Like, our acceptance rates, they might seem a little high, but I promise you, those graduating classes are not as big as they started. I promise you, like, our programs weed people out. And the education you get at Rutgers is actually fully rounded. Specifically, I will talk for music. I auditioned at a lot of other schools, and I'm not shitting on other schools, but I feel like the education that I got at Rutgers has beyond prepared me for my teaching career.
That's awesome. Do you like the fact that Rutgers has 5 different campuses?
That's an interesting question.
I got a question before we answer that.
Oh.
So like 5 different campuses, as in like different satellite campuses, or like 5 different campuses that you
No,
actually
main
have to
campus.
No,
pass?
at Rutgers, New Brunswick, it's split up into debatably 4 or 5 sub-campuses.
So she has to like, you would be at each one of those at some point. Like you could be. It's not like,
You
oh, I
could
went to like this one in a different part of New Jersey, but it's still like a Rutgers affiliated university. You know what I mean?
We have
So-
one of those. We have Rutgers
Yeah.
Newark, but like
And Camden.
Rutgers. Oh yes, also,
Yeah,
also
they're-
Camden.
they're
We have
three.
2 of those.
Hey, don't
There
you
are
crap
3
on Rutgers, Camden. I have friends that go there.
There are 3 Rutgerses. But Rutgers New Brunswick is split into like the smaller campuses. I personally have only had classes on 2 campuses. I'm mainly on Douglas or Cook Doug. I say Cook Doug because they're so close to each other that they might as well just be one campus. So I'm mainly on Cook Doug because that's where all the music classes are, but I had 1 psychology class that was on Livingston. Football's on Bush. Basketball's on Livingston. The other 2 campuses are kind of up in the air. Nothing important specifically happens there.
College Ave is
Ave is the party.
that's where all the
yeah.
parties are. There are academic buildings, but like that's where all the frat houses are. That's where all the
It's
off-campus
party
housing
campus.
is. That's the party campus.
Cook Doug is the farm campus.
Yeah, so Cook Doug is 2. So there's Cook and there's Douglas, and the dividing thing is just a single road that runs down the middle between them. So people group them together as Cook Doug, as Jess was saying.
It doesn't bother me.
It's interesting. So
They all have their specific like quirks that I like about them. So
Okay.
I've never been to Rutgers, but is like Rutgers really like, I don't know, like can you compare it to like a different college in the Big Ten, like in terms of like land size? Because 5 campuses sounds pretty large.
It's very spread out. Honestly,
yeah, that's the way I'd put it. Spread out.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to say because like if you haven't been to any of the other ones, I haven't been to any colleges anywhere near the East Coast. Except for
all I know is that to walk across any of the campuses, it's a roughly 15-minute walk from one end to the other end. And for comparison, like my sister went to Brandeis University, which is a small to medium-sized liberal arts college. I think they're a research university. I don't know. Up in the Boston area, you can walk across their entire school in like 15-20 minutes. So each campus is that, and then the campuses aren't directly next to each other. We have a bus system.
You gotta take a bus.
You
gotta take a bus.
You gotta take a bus unless you've got time and a bike.
I've walked from the Low Brass House back to Gibbons, and I have done that once, and I will never ever do that again.
And for reference, that's walking from like the closest side of College Ave to kind of the far side of Cook Douglas, and those are like 2 neighboring ones. But there's I think like about 1.5 miles to 2 miles in between the campuses. That's just like New Brunswick, and honestly not the best part of the city either. So it's like
I was in a large group. I was okay.
Yeah, I know. I always get nervous when I hear people make that walk, but I understand this is in the past.
It wasn't my idea either.
It's kind of weird to think that it's like 5 different campuses. Like I know Purdue we don't have 5 different campuses, but like we definitely have different sections of campus. Yeah. But like I don't know because I've never been to Rutgers. Maybe I'll go in the future. But
Maryland's just I don't know.
I just don't know. Like I just can't. When I think 5 different campuses, I'm thinking like literally 5 different universities like right next to each other.
That's how it used to be. Like they used to all be like separate schools, and so originally, Rutgers was just what's on College Ave, and that was Rutgers College.
And then there was Douglas College. That was the women's college.
And Cook I think it was Cook College was like I think that was the land grant agricultural school for the state. There was Livingston College as a separate college, and then I think Bush originally was just the New Jersey Medical School. I don't know. I don't know the official title, but then it kind of grew out into like the whole STEM campus there, and so
I looked at it on Google Maps. Rutgers is very big. It's very spread out. I take it back. I was thinking like I was going from my the colleges that I visited U of I visited Madison, and like obviously I go to Purdue, and I was thinking it's just like 5 different Purdues just like all spread out. But then I'm like it kind of really is. Like I'd say Purdue's like it's not spread out, but there's a lot of stuff in like a very big landmass area. But I'm like looking, I'm like you have to go across a river. It looks like.
Yeah, we're technically in 2 different towns. So
Yeah, Piscataway and New Brunswick.
Yeah. So like
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on. So what? I guess a couple other things. What's your favorite part about your Rutgers experience so far? I know it's a heavy hitter.
Oh
yeah!
That's
oh my
a big
gosh!
Question.
Yeah.
My journalism side's coming out real nice right now. Trust me.
I honestly really semi-controversial, but I really love my degree program. Sometimes Mason Gross can be a little bit of a thorn in my side, but like in terms of like the education I'm receiving, like I said before, has definitely beyond prepared me for what I want to do, and also has provided me with a lot of opportunities. And just like the friends that I've made, like I've been talking to the same group of friends since my freshman year. When I commuted, my group was very small. I talked to 1 or 2 people, but when I switched to dorming, I like branched out and met my friends' friends. And since then, I've been talking to the same group of kids to kind of be my Mason Gross friends. And I really like the community that, yeah, I guess to make a long story short, I really like the community Rutgers has provided for me.
That's great. I'm trying to think. Favorite part of a game day football experience? I mean, I know you mentioned this, the Scarlet Walk. Would that be your favorite?
Yeah, because I feel like it's kind of closer to like a pep bandy thing, kind of. So I guess that's kind of why I like it a little more. But like, I also really like the performing parts of game day too.
What's I guess for people that want to do marching band in college, what would you suggest to them as something that like why I guess like if you were a businessman and you were trying to give a pitch to say this is why you should join marching band, why do you think that prospective college students, especially those going to Rutgers, should join MSK?
Well, it provides you with the community before your classes even start, which is probably one of the best things about marching band, period, whether it be high school, college, whatever. Like, you go into your classes already knowing people, whether or not you know people in your classes in college, but especially at Rutgers, with it being such a big school, you already know people that can help you with the buses, can help you with the buildings, can help you with how to avoid tickets from public safety. Like, you have all these people as resources who are as experienced as being seniors at school to the people who are only sophomores. So it's a really good way to have a community. And just also, if you like marching band, why would you just stop? Like, there's
That's true.
Like, why? I don't understand it.
That's true. That's true.
I made that mistake, and if I could go back and change it, I totally would. Because now I have 1 more year left, and I'm like, well, wasted my first year, didn't I? Like.
So, as your first year being your sophomore year, what things would you suggest to kids, starting off to try to get themselves both acquainted to band and also acquainted to university life and college life?
I would definitely say to not be afraid to ask your peers questions because they're definitely your greatest resource, especially also when it comes to scheduling. You will find someone in the band that has either the exact same major as you or something really similar, and they can probably tell you, hey, your academic advisor can help you with this and moving this around here so you can, fit this class in, but you might have to take this later. And that honestly really helps. And just during the semester, keeping a schedule and a planner, or at least just, excuse me, at least just having somewhere to like write down things you need to do. I find planners very useful just because I can like see weekly what I have to do and how much I have to cram. But I also use my calendar on my phone a lot to put my classes in, and I'll also like plug in times when I'm going to go eat lunch, and I even get down to the nitty-gritty of like what work I'm going to do when. So just make sure you're staying on top of everything. If you think you'll remember without writing it down, you won't. So write it down somewhere.
Yeah.
Props to that. Yeah, definitely.
That's a big one.
What's
Hog in the chat for that one.
I think I have two more things. First thing, what's something that's unique at Rutgers that is something that you will like talk to everyone about and will say like this is a Rutgers thing. You can't, like that doesn't exist anywhere else but Rutgers. Whether that be something on College Ave or whatever that might be. I guess I was thinking more of just like a student life thing.
Personally, I'm not really too much sure about the student life. My freshman year, I was very like quiet. My sophomore year is when I got a little more out there, but this past year, I kind of like was a little more lax. So it wasn't as much as me going to like bigger parties as much as it was just hanging out with my friends. But one of the things that I think makes Rutgers so interesting is its history, which has nothing to do with student life, but it's just a really old university that has a lot of cool history to it. I mean, that's not something that every university can say, but like we got the ball rolling on a lot of things, I'd say.
Rutgers is quite old.
It is.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how old Rutgers was till
Yeah.
tonight.
She old.
Yeah,
I think
it's
it's
most definitely
254 years old.
And then I guess as a final thing, what would you say are the biggest lessons that you've learned from College Marching Band?
I definitely have picked up a lot of like personality things, and I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that it's good to be confident in yourself, and you should definitely be confident in yourself, but you should never, ever, ever be arrogant. There's no room for it in today's world. There's like no reason for it. So be confident in yourself, but don't put other people down.
All right, well, thank you so much for doing this, Jess. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for responding on such short notice.
Yeah.
You can just stay on the pod until we finish. I'm just gonna wrap everything up. But thank you everyone for tuning into this first episode. We know it was probably a little bit long, and hopefully we'll find ways to correct it in the future. Thanks, Jess, for being our special guest. We'll definitely make sure to have more people in the future. Do you guys, Craig, Jason, you guys have any final words before we end?
I just want to say thank you to everybody if you've made it this far throughout. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to just keep tuning in for more interesting stories, more interesting people. And
if you have any suggestions, you can send us something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll figure something out.
Yeah,
if you're watching on like YouTube, drop
some
a comment
questions
or
if
something.
you want to ask people.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
Exactly.
But thank you guys for doing this. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned next week for episode 2.